Welcome to another explainer. Today, we're tackling one of the most fundamental, kind of hilarious ironies of web development. We are looking at a really fascinating problem. How exactly do you write the code to build a web page that is actually about writing code? I know, it sounds like a total riddle, but it's a very real challenge that developers face every single day when they try to share their work, build accessible documentation, or just write a simple tutorial online.
Think about it for a second. Browsers basically act as literal translators. They're hardwired to read HTML tags, those little instructions wrapped in angled brackets, as invisible commands to be executed. So this creates a massive dilemma when you simply want to show the text of a tag on your screen. If you type a paragraph tag, the browser tries to literally make a paragraph. It doesn't want to show you the symbols. So how do we force the translator to stop translating and just display the raw text? Well, for anyone building educational content on the web, cracking this is absolutely crucial.
All right, let's jump right into the first solution, HTML code elements.
We've got to start with the absolute bedrock, the code element. This right here is the foundation of sharing programming syntax on the web. By wrapping your text in a code tag, you're semantically telling the browser, hey, the text inside here is a computer command or script or a snippet. It is not just your everyday standard text. And this semantic layer, it's vital. It's exactly what helps things like screen readers understand the context, making your site way more accessible for everyone. You can clearly see the visual contrast right here between the raw input a developer actually types and the clean output the browser generates on the screen. By utilizing the code element, the browser knows to style that specific piece of text completely differently, usually giving it a monospaced font so it pops out from the rest of the sentence. It honestly makes reading technical documentation infinitely easier and just so much more visually distinct. Next up is the pre-formatted text element, which most people just call the pre-tag. Now, this one has a legitimate superpower. Normally, a web browser is going to take any extra spaces or line breaks you type and just aggressively collapse them into a single space. It is relentlessly efficient at trying to clean up your formatting. But the pre-tag? It completely overrides that. It forces the browser to maintain your exact spatial formatting, totally ignoring its normal habit of collapsing all those spaces.
Because this specific input is wrapped in a pre-tag, the line breaks after John and 20 align perfectly in the output, exactly the way they were typed into the source code. Even the specific spacing used to line up those colons is perfectly preserved. Without this tag, all of that information would just be mashed into one long, messy, totally unreadable sentence. It's an absolute lifesaver when you're trying to display structured data. Okay, but what if you're writing an instructional guide and you need the user to press a physical key? That is exactly where the keyboard element comes in, spelled KBD. It gives a very specific semantic meaning to user inputs, which creates a far more intuitive experience for someone who's trying to follow along with a step-by-step manual or a tutorial. The really cool point here is how the browser handles it. Wrapping Control and C in keyboard tags tells the browser to render these specifically to look like physical keystrokes. It'll often bold them or change the font slightly so your instructions are just crystal clear. The reader knows immediately, okay, I need to physically press these exact keys on my keyboard to make this work. But what if you're on the other side of the equation? If you need to show the result of a program running rather than the code itself or what the user inputs, the sample tag is exactly what you need. It literally stands for sample output, and it's essential for showing users what a successful or even a failed operation actually looks like in practice. By wrapping something like program executed successfully in a sample tag, the browser generates what looks like a simulated system message for the reader. It cleanly distinguishes the computer's automatic response from your own regular explanatory text. That simple semantic separation just keeps the flow of your technical document incredibly organized and super easy to parse.
Rounding out our 5 specialized tags is the variable element. This one is perfect for displaying algebraic variables or variables within a programmable script. It might seem like a really small detail, but in technical writing, precision is quite literally everything. You want your reader to instantly recognize mathematical or programmatic logic the second they see it. Typically, the browser will italicize this output, which visually distinguishes the variable x from the standard text or numbers around it. It instantly signals to the reader's brain that x is a container for a value, not just some random letter hanging out in a sentence. It brings that necessary layer of precision to complex documentation. And here is where the magic really happens, combining these tools. By nesting a code tag inside a pre-tag, you genuinely get the best of both worlds. The code tag gives it the semantic meaning and that nice monospaced font of computer programming, while the pre-tag preserves your exact line breaks and indentations. This specific combination is literally the industry standard way to cleanly display entire multi-line blocks of programming logic across the modern web. So that covers formatting text blocks. Now let's look at the second solution to tackle the micro-level problem, HTML character references. This right here is the absolute core of the dilemma. Some characters have special, reserved meanings in HTML. The less than and greater than signs, those are used to build the structural tags. The ampersand is used for something else entirely. If you just naively type them into your document, the browser completely panics, gets confused, and the code literally breaks. So to display these reserved symbols, we have to use a totally different language hidden within HTML itself, known as character references or HTML entities. Basically, think of them as secret escape codes. Writing one of these entities always follows a very strict three-step syntax. Step 1, you absolutely always start with an ampersand. Step 2, you add the specific entity name or its numeric code. And finally, step 3, you close it out with a semicolon. This highly specific sequence is exactly how you communicate with the translator, basically saying, hey, whatever you do, don't execute this as code, just display the symbol it represents.
And boom, here is the direct answer to our initial riddle from the very beginning of this explainer. If you want to literally type a paragraph tag on screen without accidentally creating a new paragraph, you use the entity ampersand LT semicolon for less than, followed by the letter P, and then ampersand GT semicolon for greater than. By doing this, we safely force the browser to print the actual characters on the screen without triggering any structural changes to the page itself. This visual cheat sheet highlights the most common entities you are going to encounter in the wild. You've got the entity names and numeric codes for our reserved tags like less than and greater than, for sure, but also for quotation marks, ampersands, and math symbols. It even includes vital typographic symbols like the copyright sign, trademark sign, and global currency signs like the euro or rupee. You literally cannot even type some of these on a standard keyboard, which makes these entities your only path forward. Let's look at a highly practical, everyday example. Say you want to generate a copyright symbol for the year 2026. It is as simple as typing ampersand, copy, semicolon right there within your text. The browser seamlessly translates that secret code into the universal copyright symbol in the output. It really is an incredibly elegant solution for adding necessary legal or typographic symbols. Oh, and here is another incredibly useful trick. Remember how we said earlier that browsers relentlessly delete extra spaces? Well, if you want to override that habit without using a big, bulky, pre-formatted text block, you can use the non-breaking space entity. It's ampersand NBSP semicolon. By stacking a few of them together in your input, you manually force exact spatial gaps between words, like here between HTML and CSS. It gives you total microcontrol over your layout when you just need a little extra breathing room. Which brings us to a fundamental conclusion. The golden rule of web development, really. Whenever your content conflicts with the underlying language of the web itself, you absolutely must rely on these character references. There is no magical workaround. They act as the essential bridge between the hidden code that builds the web and the readable text that actually explains it. And that brings us to the end of our explainer. Honestly, once you understand this translator's dilemma, you start to see the entire web differently. Every piece of code you read online, every copyright symbol at the bottom of a page, every extra space, they are all illusions, constructed by these special tags and secret entities. It really leaves you wondering just how much of this hidden escape language is silently working behind the scenes right now to make the modern internet look totally normal to you and me. Keep an eye out for it next time you're browsing.